it's a very large question, but I think the answer is that in the 16th century, the Protestant reformers were very convinced of the divinity of Jesus Christ and worshipped him with their hearts and their lives. So they were baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They went regularly to church on Sundays and prayed the Lord's Prayer. So there are many elements of authentic Christianity in these Protestant churches. Not everything they held was wrong, and they can benefit from the sound elements in their own churches.
Your Eminence, thank you very much for your talk. It seems to me that the issue of how God saves non-Catholics is rather complicated, and of course it's theoretical. My question is this: in a practical sense, isn't the bottom line that we who have the Catholic faith are obliged to make urgent efforts to spread the faith to all those who do not yet possess it? Thank you, Your Honor.
I think I said that, I tried to say that in my conclusion paragraphs. So I do believe that Catholics have an obligation to bear witness to their faith more vigorously than most of us do.
Good evening, Your Honor. It's nice to hear from you again. My name is Marshall Mikic, and I'm from the Albanian Montenegrin Catholic community of Greater New York. It's a blessing to hear from you again. Governor Corzine spent a few $100,000 of his own money to put a proposition in the ballot in the state of New Jersey to fund for a 10-year period $450 million in stem cell research. And the majority of the voters knocked that proposal down. I'm asking, besides the voters, besides the taxpayers, who is saved? Who is saved since the taxpayers decided not to borrow that money for stem cell research? And I ask that as a former fetus and with respect and reverence to your young age.
I don't know the particulars of that bill that was defeated. I suspect that one reason it was defeated is that it proposed embryonic stem cell research, which seems to me to be very problematic if it involves the death of the embryo, and the same results, so far as we know, can be obtained in many other ways. I hope I grasped your question.
They take on some of these risks that were discussed throughout your presentation tonight?
They take on risks. Well,
I'm not going on to heaven, obviously.
it's impossible to say in general when the Catholic Church says that when they reach the age of reason, they become capable of acts that may merit salvation or the contrary. Now, when any individual reaches the age of reason, we can't say exactly 7 years. It might be more than 7 years, but it might vary from case to case. So only God knows exactly the responsibility the individuals have with their own actions. Does that answer your question?
One final question.
Good evening, Your Eminence. My name is Frank, and my question about this great sermon, we can call it, or speech that you just have delivered to us, would be, as you explained at the end, that atheist persons could be saved. But how can they be saved? Even I recall you saying that if they follow the path of God and certain other rules, how can an atheist follow God's rule if atheist himself, from the Greek, means not to believe in God?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think many of them have a wrong image of God. They may think of an old man with a beard sitting on the clouds, and what they reject may not be the God of Christianity at all, and maybe in their devotion to truth and love and justice, they are implicitly, I would say, worshiping God under some other name, since God says of himself, I am truth, and since the New Testament says God is love, so perhaps they just don't rightly identify what they regard as supremely important with the name of God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One more. You want to take one more?
I just might ask one last question. Again, I enjoyed your speech very much. What I gathered from who can be saved, I think one of the big proponents of mercy, God's endless mercy, is the great John Paul II, who did really, with Sister Maria Faustina in the Chaplet of Thy Mercy, said, Eternal Father, whose mercy is endless and the fountain of compassion inexhaustible. And I think the Pope was, the late John Paul II, was one who really said that indeed, as you said, God's mercy is everlasting and fathomable. So just trust in the Lord. And as you said, the Lord rewards all those who seek Him. And on this earth we just pass it once. God rewards those who trust Him and who seek Him and love mercy.
Fine, I agree with all of that, but we can't set aside God's justice and say that His mercy comes to those who reject it. But otherwise, I totally agree with what you said. Yeah.